Hi everyone, it's Jim with 4Knines. Today we're going to do a video in studio. I'm going to try and compare these 4 seat covers. One of them is the 4Knines, and then I have these other 3 which have similar features but different, and I thought it would be very valuable just to walk through them all to help you make a better buying decision. You know, it's really hard to trust all the reviews that are out there these days because people do funny things and buy reviews and other stuff, and you know, when you look online, the pictures look similar, they list similar features, but I can tell you the actual construction of these covers is significantly different, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We've actually been making our covers since 2013, and we've learned a lot during the time that we've been making them. We've gotten a lot of feedback from our customers, and we've incorporated all that feedback into the covers. So we keep revising and updating these based on customer feedback and reviews to try and design the best cover possible. So we're going to talk about a couple of main topics today. So material, straps and clips, stitching and binding, the Velcro or the hook and loop as it is, and some seat anchors. We'll talk about zippers on a couple of the covers, and then we're actually going to do a segment on the layering of these covers, because that's really where things get different, is what the different layers are made out of. And I'm actually going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut these things open and show you the different layers in here so you'll have all the information you need to make the best purchasing decision possible. So let's talk about material. So we use a 600D polyester. This is a heavy duty polyester. We've chosen this because it is eco-friendly. It doesn't have any azo dyes or heavy metals in there like lead or arsenic. We want to try and keep the cover as comfortable and clean as possible. This weave that we've used in this material allows for a little bit of traction for the dog, and it also prevents hair from sticking in it, so it makes it easy to wipe off or to clean off. And like I said, we've been using this for quite some time. You can see this cover uses a similar material, but I believe that when I feel it, it's a thinner material. It's probably not a 600D, it might be a 420. That's what is a common material that's out there right now. It does have some texturing to it, similar weave. This material and this cover is actually a ripstop material, which is pretty cool because it's going to prevent the cover from tearing. The problem is it's really slippery. And we've got customers that could tell us that our cover can be slippery and it takes the dog a little bit to get used to. This is really, really slippery. So an A+ for the ripstop, but the slippery part of this is really going to be a problem. This cover also uses a ripstop material. It's a little rougher, but still pretty slippery. So I'm not sure about these covers in terms of azo dyes or heavy metals. You'd have to check out when you're purchasing the cover and what the differences are there. So that's one thing to look at. Another thing to look at are the straps and the clips. So, if you look, a couple things here. One, we have this really nice, it's almost like a textured leather reinforcement position on here. We also have some heavy duty stitching around there with an X stitch on here to try and make sure that this cover does not tear away from the headrest straps. We use straps that are very heavy duty. They're also UV coated. And the UV coating is important because we learned this after making these covers for so long. When this sits in the back of your vehicle, if these aren't UV coated, they'll actually disintegrate. And that could obviously be problematic. The next thing are the clips. We use a heavy duty clip. It's a nylon clip, so when I go ahead and pull this out, you can see that it's not breaking and it's just bending. So that's really important. The other thing is the tension capability of this strap. So when I pull on this, like this, does the strap move? And ours does not. Another thing that we learned over the course of time. We've had situations in clips in the past where it's actually slid like this, which is obviously bad because it ruins the fit in your vehicle. So a couple things to look for with the clips. If I compare this versus some other ones that are out there, one, the tensioning on this one, as you can tell, not nearly as good. I mean, I can't do anything. As soon as I pull this, it slides. So that's less than ideal. If we look at the clips, it's a nice clip, but well, that kind of explains that. So you can see that this thing just broke right off. So that's probably going to be a problem. They don't use the same type of reinforcement around here. They did use something. It's just a thinner grade, cheaper material that they've used. Similar, construction. The strap is not as heavy duty or as thick as the strap that we're using, and I don't know if it's UV coated or not. You'd have to check when you're purchasing the cover. Going down the line, once again, they've used a similar construction to ours, just not as nice of a material here. It's also a lot thinner than ours. You look at the straps, the difference in the strap size, which I'm sure you could probably tell pretty easily here. Ours is significantly thicker. This is a thinner strap. Tensioning on this buckle seems to be pretty good. This one seems to lock in place, so I'm good for them on that. Let's see how the buckle does. Similar buckle. There you go. It broke. So another problem with the clips. Something to look out for, obviously, when you're buying these covers. Third one, these guys do not use any reinforcement around here, which is a problem. When we first started, we didn't use the reinforcement. We had a lot of tearing in this area. So you really want to select something that is better constructed in this area. They use this adjustment situation here, and the reason I think they're doing that is because their clip does not have any tensioning capability whatsoever. It just freely slides through here, so you have to adjust this to get the fit correctly. Clip seems similar clip. So there's 3 of them. They all broke. I didn't even pull that hard. So clips, obviously a major component, something you need to worry about when you're purchasing your cover. Another thing is just the stitching. I can tell you on our covers, we do a lot of extra stitching in this area between the panels because we know this is a high tension area. We also do a lot of extra stitching around the seatbelt openings and the latch openings, and we do extra stitching around the binding because we want to make this as strong as possible. So we have a lot of heavy duty reinforced stitching. We use better stitching on the quilting than most people do because we just don't want this to fall apart. We want you to buy this and have it for a long time. That's why we have a lifetime warranty on our product. So we talked about the stitching, the binding, we talked about the straps, the clips. We also use a heavy duty hook and loop in here, or Velcro as most people use it, because when your dog's walking on the cover, we don't want it to separate. You know, looking at some of these other covers, they have different degrees. I mean, this one seems pretty good. These guys use these flaps, but the Velcro is not very strong. So something else to consider. One other thing, you know, a couple of these covers, like ours, you know, this is our split seat cover, and it has the ability to use fold down seats and a middle armrest. We have zippers in here. We use YKK zippers, which are the best zippers on the market. Some of these other products in the marketplace that have tried to copy us use zippers that aren't nearly as good as ours. They're cam zippers. They tend to bunch up. They tend to break. So the construction quality of the zippers that go into the covers is also really important. And then the last thing that I really want to talk about are just the layers and how these covers are constructed. So I've actually taken a chunk out of the seat cover. And so this is the seat bottom. And why this is important is because I want to talk about all the layers. So on the top layer, we have our 600D. It's also coated twice with polyurethane waterproofing. And this waterproofing helps prevent stains. It also will allow the water to run off of here. Beneath that, you can see we use quite a bit of cotton padding because when the dog walks on here, I want to make sure the nails don't go through the cover and damage your seats. And then what we have, very interesting, is a backing material that's non-slip. And this non-slip layer is really important because we've added a solid waterproof layer on the bottom. And this solid waterproof layer prevents any water from seeping through the quilting marks in this cover. It also has a really interesting film layer on top of here. It's a TPU film waterproofing layer. This is a similar layer that you're going to find in mattress pads for people because it's not sprayed on, it's actually a film, so it lasts longer. And then we also have our non-slip layer. Now, one thing I want to tell you is when you have a solid layer here and then you have this layer, if they rub against each other, the seat cover is going to slide and bunch up. That's why we've taken the time and extra expense to put this non-slip layer here. So when these are together like this and the dog walks on it, this non-slip layer is going to prevent this and it's going to prevent sliding. So it's going to help hold that seat cover in place. This also, because we have this backing material and everything, provides for a better construction. This quilting goes all the way through here. And what we're trying to prevent is this cotton from bunching up underneath and wearing and creating a weird lumpy seat cover. So that's the 4Knines cover. You can tell that we have a lot of construction in here. This is something you're not going to see when you're buying these online, right? Because you're not going to know what the different layers are. If we go to this cover, This is a very basic cover. It's obviously cheaper than ours, but if you look, you basically have the 600D layer, less cotton padding than we have. Then they have a backing material, which is actually really good because this backing material will help the cotton from bunching up. And then they have a non-slip layer. The problem is they're all quilted together. And so because there's quilting lines through here and there's stitching through here, if you get water on here or urine or anything else, it's going to seep through these quilting marks and go through onto your seat. So you can tell lighter construction than ours, less construction going into this cover. This cover is pretty interesting because it's this ripstop material, and what they've done is this quilting is actually heat press quilting, so it's not stitched together. What they've done is they've taken heat and they've used it to put these quilting marks in here, and you can see it goes all the way through. Now this is really nice because there's no seams in here, so it'll help contain water. And they do have a backing material, but if you'll notice, this backing material will go on here. This should stop the sliding on here. But the problem with this construction is they don't have nearly that much padding in here. And because this is heat pressed together, this happens. And when this happens and it bunches up, now you're gonna have all kinds of problems. You're gonna get a lumpy seat cover, right? So the heat press thing is pretty neat, but it's going to ultimately potentially cause you problems because it just doesn't stick together. It's not sewn together. And then we have our last one. Where's the piece here? All right, this one's pretty interesting because it's the ripstop material. These guys have tried to copy what we do. They have a full layer on the bottom that is a barrier material, I guess. It looks like they may have a TPU on here, so they're trying to make the seat bottom waterproof like us. They have their non-slip layer. If you look at this non-slip layer, it flaps around. It's not attached to this. What we've done on ours, just to point this out, is our non-slip layer is bonded to this piece. So you don't have this situation where you have a non-slip floating freely and then another layer floating freely. And then if you'll look, they don't have any backing material on here and it's really thin. So what's going to happen is this cotton is going to rub against this layer, it's going to ball up because they're not sewn together, and you're going to have a lumpy seat cover, right? So compare that with how we've done ours. This is bonded together, so we have one layer. Then we have the non-slip layer, so this doesn't bunch up. And we have the non-slip sewn on here so that it holds the cover together, so you don't have that problem. So when you start looking at these layers in the construction, you can see how very different these covers are. They may look the same when you're buying them online, but they're very different. One other quick note, we've chosen to use a gray cover because we make ours in black, gray, and tan. These other manufacturers only offer them in black, which is not a problem, but just another point of differentiation. So we're going to be doing another video on the waterproof features of these covers as the next step.